The question of Jesus' racial identity has been the subject of significant debate, cultural reflection, and theological discourse. For centuries, depictions of Jesus have been shaped by the cultural and artistic expressions of societies, often reflecting the dominant racial and ethnic identities of those producing them. In Western art and theology, Jesus is typically portrayed as a white man with European features, an image that has become iconic in much of the Christian world. However, the question of whether this portrayal aligns with historical and biblical evidence remains complex. To delve into this, we must examine the historical context of Jesus' life, the descriptions provided in the Bible, and the broader implications of interpreting his racial identity. Understanding Jesus' racial identity requires situating him within his historical and geographical context. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the region of Judea during the 1st century CE, a time when the Roman Empire occupied the area. Judea, located in the eastern Mediterranean, was a culturally and ethnically diverse region. Its inhabitants included Jews, Samaritans, Greeks, Romans, and other groups. The Jewish population to which Jesus belonged traced its ancestry to the ancient Israelites and was shaped by the broader Afro-Asiatic world, including influences from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Levant. The Bible offers limited direct physical descriptions of Jesus, which has led to much speculation about his appearance. Despite this, some passages provide clues that can help us reconstruct a general understanding of his physical characteristics. In the book of Isaiah, a prophetic text often associated with Jesus, it is written that the Messiah would have no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. Isaiah 53 verse 2. While this description focuses more on humility than appearance, it suggests that Jesus' physical features were unremarkable and did not align with contemporary ideals of beauty. Additionally, the New Testament refrains from providing explicit details about Jesus' appearance. This absence of a clear description is significant because it suggests that the early Christians were less concerned with his physical characteristics and more focused on his teachings and divinity. However, this does not mean that we cannot infer certain details about his racial identity. To better understand Jesus' likely appearance, it is important to consider the physical characteristics of the people in the region during his time. As a 1st century Jewish man, Jesus likely had features common among Middle Eastern populations, including brown skin, dark hair, and brown eyes. This understanding challenges the Eurocentric depictions of Jesus that have dominated Western art and iconography. It also aligns with the biblical context, as Jesus' lineage is rooted in the tribes of Israel, which were situated in the Afro-Asiatic world. Furthermore, the Bible's genealogical accounts highlight Jesus' ancestral connections to figures such as Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and King David. These ancestors lived in a region that bridged Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, emphasizing the cultural and ethnic diversity of Jesus' heritage. The inclusion of figures like Rahab and Ruth in Jesus' genealogy, Matthew 1 verse 5, underscores the multicultural influences within his lineage. Rahab, a Canaanite, and Ruth, a Moabite, were women from neighboring regions who became integral to the story of Israel. In addition to genealogy, biblical references to Jesus' time in Egypt further highlight the Afro-Asiatic context of his life. In the Gospel of Matthew, we learn that Mary and Joseph fled to Egypt with the infant Jesus to escape King Herod's persecution, Matthew 2 verses 13 to 15. Egypt, located in North Africa, was a significant cultural and political center in the ancient world. The fact that Jesus and his family sought refuge there underscores the interconnectedness of the Afro-Asiatic region during this period. The question of Jesus' racial identity also intersects with broader discussions about the depiction of biblical figures in Western art and theology. During the Renaissance and subsequent periods, European artists portrayed Jesus and other biblical figures with distinctly European features. These depictions reflected the cultural and racial assumptions of the time, as well as the artist's desire to make biblical narratives more relatable to European audiences. However, these portrayals have contributed to the erasure of the Afro-Asiatic context of the Bible and reinforced a Eurocentric perspective on Christianity. In recent years, Scholars, theologians, and activists have sought to challenge these portrayals by emphasizing the historical and cultural context of Jesus' life. Some argue that Jesus' identification with oppressed and marginalized communities is central to his message and mission. By portraying Jesus as a person of color, these interpretations seek to reclaim his identity as a figure of solidarity with the marginalized. The racialization of Jesus also has implications for the broader understanding of Christianity as a global faith. Christianity emerged in the Middle East and spread throughout the Roman Empire and beyond, encountering diverse cultures and communities. The early Christian movement included people of various ethnic backgrounds, as evidenced by the diverse group of individuals mentioned in the New Testament, such as the Ethiopian eunuch, Acts 8 verses 26 to 40, and Simon of Cyrene, who was compelled to carry Jesus' cross, Mark 15 verse 21. Cyrene, located in modern-day Libya, was part of North Africa, further illustrating the Afro-Asiatic connections within the early Christian community. In addition to historical and biblical evidence, the question of Jesus' racial identity has taken on significant cultural and political dimensions. For many people of African descent, the depiction of Jesus as a person of color serves as a powerful affirmation of their faith and identity. Movements such as Black liberation theology have emphasized the relevance of Jesus' teachings to the struggles of oppressed communities, including African Americans and other marginalized groups. Black liberation theologians, such as James Cone, argue that Jesus' solidarity with the poor and oppressed is central to his identity and mission. They contend that Jesus' experiences of marginalization and persecution resonate with experiences of Black people and other marginalized groups throughout history. By depicting Jesus as a person of color, these interpretations seek to affirm the dignity and humanity of those who have been dehumanized by racism and oppression. The debate over Jesus' racial identity also reflects broader questions about representation and inclusion within Christianity. For centuries, the dominance of Eurocentric depictions of Jesus has excluded people of color from seeing themselves reflected in the central figure of their faith. By reclaiming Jesus as a person of color, theologians and artists seek to challenge these exclusions and affirm the universality of Christianity. However, it is important to recognize that the question of Jesus' racial identity is not simply about assigning a particular racial category to him. Rather, it is about understanding the historical, cultural, and theological context of his life and teachings. By situating Jesus within the Afro-Asiatic world of first-century Judea, we can gain a deeper appreciation of his identity and mission. The Bible does not explicitly describe Jesus' racial identity, but provides ample evidence of the cultural and ethnic diversity of his context. By examining the historical and biblical evidence, we can conclude that Jesus was likely a man of Middle Eastern appearance, with features common among the Afro-Asiatic populations of his time. While he may not fit the traditional Eurocentric portrayals, this understanding aligns with the historical and cultural realities of his life. Ultimately, the question of Jesus' racial identity is not merely a matter of historical curiosity. It has profound implications for how we understand his message, mission, and relevance to diverse communities. By embracing the historical and cultural diversity of Jesus' identity, we can move toward a more inclusive and authentic understanding of Christianity and its central figure.